Can I have some water? Mama, can I have some water? Mama, can I have a hug? Mama, can I have some water? Mama, I've missed your love. Mama, can I have some water? Mama, you didn't think of me. Mama, can I have some water? Mama, did you need to be free? Mama, can I have some water? Mama, why didn't you fight? Mama, can I have some water? Now I'm left here uptight. Mama, why the pills? No one admits the truth, but I was there. Indirectly, you said, I don't give a damn. I don't care. I said, Mama, can I have some water? Your last words to me were, baby, go back to sleep. And when I woke the next morning, you were laying at my feet, breathless, cold, and another statistic of defeat. Okay, good morning, afternoon, or evening to everyone. Listen, I was going to try to get a little cute for this video, but to be honest, this subject matter is an ugly subject matter. So with that, I'm just going to move forward because I was driven to get this message out. So here we are. And just as I spoke to you before, I will come to you as I am. No airs. I'm just me. I'm Darlene. And I'm just here to bring some words to the people. I'm trying hard to save some souls here. So with my story, I'm praying that I can touch someone somewhere. And with that, I want to start. So like before again, you may hear rustling of papers, you may not, but it is, hate to say that, it is what it is. So listen, let's talk about being 5 years old. What was your first memory? I've heard some people say my grandmother singing in the kitchen, other people, riding their bike, falling off and skinning their knee. But me, my first memory was my mother's suicide. I woke up in the middle of the night, and you know how children are. When they see something, they want it, right? So I asked, Mama, can I have some water? And she said, go back to sleep, baby. And when I woke up, she was gone. The water was gone. There was a pill bottle on the side of this little table. It was empty. And that's all I remember. It's so weird. It's like there was nothing else. No sound, nothing. It was like a silent movie. Those old black and white movies? It was like a clip from a silent movie. And then the next thing I remember after that were legs just moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in front of me. And that was it. That's all my little mind can remember at the time, So I did eventually get some pieces to the puzzle answered. I spoke with my Uncle Shorty. I love him. Anyway, Uncle Shorty and an old friend of the family kind of gave me a little bit here and there. So this was much later in life, of course. So anyway, like anyone else, I wanted to know the details, right? So, unfortunately, no one was talking. Nobody. I heard different stories here and there. I had the one where she had that sickle cell. Now, she really did have sickle cell, but that wasn't the answer. Well, you know, she had that what was it? She had a heart attack. Really? You had to think of that. Okay. But then there was the other one. She had that malaria. That sleeping disease? Well, really, I really think, and I wonder now, these days, were they really just speaking about depression and was just trying to make it sound more dramatic, to move that stigma from depression that everyone speaks of? So as time went on, I just left that alone. I knew in my heart what truly happened. And what I wondered though was, how can a mother leave her children like that? I mean, I had two brothers also around the ages of, I think, 9 and 13. And it was like, how could you leave your children like that? So keep in mind, I already knew the answers, but that taboo, everything in the Black family, stay silent. Whatever happens in the house stays in the house. That is real. It was real, y'all. But now I'm hoping that it was real and that's changed by now. This is 2022. What's happening in the house need to be told because we need some help out here. So, okay, let me move forward. So, like I said, there were legs going back and forth, back and forth. And then Shorty told me that all I did was I sat in this chair. And I can remember it was like a really big chair. It just felt huge around me. It was a really big chair. And he said I just sat there, rocking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, that's where my emotional rocking came from. I learned that later. So he said that the legs I saw were the paramedics and the ambulance worker and coroner. The people were just moving back and forth, attending to her and taking care of the body. So that was like the first and the last real memory that I had of her. Now, the next memory I had is being in a living room. Somehow, I'm aware that the house I'm in, I live in. And I'm still around the same age though, y'all. Around 5 years old. I can't see any faces, but I know that there's a wedding going on. What? A wedding going on. And my daddy was the groom. How is this? Did I miss something? I'm still small family, right? Around the same age. Well, I later found out that my dad was having relations with my babysitter. Well, it seems to me it was a little bit more than relations because my mom was buried around a day after my birthday. And I was still 5.
when they were getting married. And now I was living in the house with them. So let's break here. 1, depression. 2, suicide. 3, abandonment. And that's from just mama alone. How can you not see where the emotional structure is broken down here? How can someone not see that? We look at our children today, and all we can say over and over, I hear this in the grocery store, on the street, what is wrong with them? What is wrong with them? These children, I mean, what's going on these days that these kids are acting this way? Over and over, you hear this. Yet, some neglect to look internally at the nucleus of the family structure. Just that simple. Mother, father, child. We learn from what we see. We look at our children today and we don't, it's like we want to play the blame game. Is this in the air? Yeah, there are things that could be going on, but no one wants to understand what really is happening when truly it's just the mother and the father. We learn from what we see. We learn from our first teachers, mother and father. And they learn from their mother and father, just recycling it all, generation after generation. It's just that simple. And that's where it begins. So, what pain did my mother witness and my grandparents that would begin the downward spiral of her ultimate demise? A question raised and buried with them both. Well, let me tell you, cloning ain't cute. All my life I heard, ooh, you look just like your mama. Ooh, were you a spitting image. I even had an aunt that never called me by my real name, ever. So one day as an adult, I decided I'm going to ask her. So I was like, Auntie, you know my real name? She said, yes. And I said, okay, what is it? What is it, Auntie? And she looked at me like, really? Grace? Okay. Grace it was, just for her. Anyway, as time went on, I began to display characteristics of Grace, or Miss Grace, should I say. Depression abounded. I'd been through so much and began some recycling of my own. After a situation or two during high school summer break, I was fed up. And my thoughts became, well, since I look so much like her, I'm going to be just like her. Distraught in my depression, I began my plan. I called my best friend at the time. We chatted a little, and then I told her I was going to visit my mom's gravesite at, what was it? Evergreen Cemetery. And it would be my first time. I didn't know where the site was, but there is a little house where they can give you the directions of how to find it. So I hung up from her and I went to the store on 14th and Burleigh. Some of y'all might know that place. 14th and Burleigh. I loaded up on junk food, a bunch of candy, and soda. I'd found a bottle of pills at my uncle's like the day before, a couple days before. and I was ready to take the plunge. Now, side note, did any of you hear the cry for help? What was it? Put your answers in the comments below. Let's have some dialogue. Now, immediately, I began taking pill after pill. I hopped on the 60 bus and began my route for Green Bay Avenue, eating, drinking, and popping pills, and doing it so no one was aware of my actions. I hopped off the 60 and jumped on the 3rd Street bus on King Drive that was just arriving. A few blocks later, here's Joni, my best friend, hopping on the bus. Surprised, I had to play it off, so I offered her some snacks as I continued to pop the pills, discreetly, when I thought she wasn't looking. We arrived at the cemetery and we headed toward the little house. Now, I went inside and told her to stay out. I got the directions and we headed over toward the east end of the grounds, I do believe it was. I instructed her to go right and I'd go the opposite. When I found the site, instead of calling her, I laid down on top of it with a note in my pocket saying my goodbyes. This is it in my eyes. I'm just like her, so I'm going to be just like her. About 10 or 15 minutes later, I'm guessing, Joni returned to me, sprawled out over my mom's gravesite. "What are you doing?" she screamed. I began crying and explaining how I was tired of everything and going over all the highlights of the madness in my life and explaining how I was tired of everything and that all I felt was invisible to the world. She immediately lifted me off the ground and began walking me back towards her house. Now, by this time, I thought I'd be drowsy or something, but instead, I started feeling like I had to pee. Can I say pee on YouTube? I had to urinate, you guys. We walked and we walked and we walked. We walked almost 9 miles. The urge just intensified, but this wasn't the normal need. You know what I mean? Family. 9 miles. We got to her house. I still wasn't drowsy. I wasn't drowsy. What kind of pills were these? We get there and she stayed awake with me all day, all evening. I wasn't showing any abnormal behavior, so she never called the paramedics. She never told anyone, nor spoke of it again. And the pills, they turned out to be water pills that my uncle had. So again, I say, and I will always say, thank you, Lord, for delivering me. Thank you for deliverance. And I ask you, Lord, forgive me for this sin. Forgive me, Lord. You see, Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." This is bondage that these spirits, these demons are placing upon you. And these demons are real, y'all. This life is not a game. 3 words. You see, in this earth, it's titled mental illness. We have mental, relating to the mind or relating to disorders of the mind. We have illness, a disease or period of sickness affecting the body or mind. And then therapy. And in this case, the treatment of mental or psychological means. My mom was sick, as well as myself, and anyone else contemplating this thing that is so traumatic. This is so traumatic for so many people you're not even thinking of. You're not crazy, love. This is a spirit. They're spirits, and they're attempting to keep this world their own. They don't want God's glory to be seen here. You can't handle it on your own. God works through his people. And that means therapists too. Not just the pastor, not just your friends that you just want somebody to hear you. Don't be afraid to ask for help and let him do a work in and through you. See, I've been through a whole lot in my life, a lot. And this was not the first time that these spirits, these demons tried to take me out. But God said, I have something different for my child. You see, Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." I'm here because my plans were not his. God's plans was for me to be here to speak to you. And I pray something here today opens your eyes and opens your heart to believing that change is possible. Truly it is. Truly change is possible. Look at me. Look at me. And I promise you can smile again. I promise.